Hello everyone, my name is Larone Koonce. This is Correctional Officers in the News. If this is your first time tuning in, I am a retired New York City correction officer. I am also the author of the book, Correction Officer's Guide to Understanding Inmates, the 44 Keys to Power, Control, and Respect. And I do videos that are related to corrections, jail, prison, things like that. Also, one thing that you may not know about me is that I'm an avid movie buff. I love movies. I love movies from the golden age of cinema.
Singing in the rain.
I like black and white movies. My favorite actor is the one and only Humphrey Bogart.
Is looking at you, kid.
I got his picture from a thrift store. Had to have it. I like his movies. I like James Cagney movies. I like all different genre of movies. But the one genre that I've kind of strayed away from are movies that are about jail and prison, because I worked in so many jails for so long that I find myself nitpicking when I see a jail movie. So I kind of shy away from that. But I came across a movie that really impressed me. I'm very impressed with this movie. I like this movie. This movie is named Felon. And I have a recap for you guys of the movie Felon. So just sit back and let me recap this movie for you because it's so good. Now, a family man, Wade Porter, is living the American dream. He's a hard-working small business owner of a small-town construction company in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He lives with his fiancée, Laura, and their 3-year-old son, Michael. As the movie begins, we learn that he is planning their wedding and that he was just approved for a small business loan. For Wade and Laura, everything seems to be going their way. So what could go wrong, right? Well, one night, while sleeping, they are awakened by an intruder.
As Wade searches the house, the intruder runs past him. Wade chases him outside. Thinking that he has a weapon, Wade hits him in the head, killing him. The police arrive and discover that the intruder didn't have a weapon. He had Wade's wallet in his hand. Because the intruder had no weapon and was running away, he was no longer a threat. Wade is arrested and charged with murder. While in the holding pen at the county jail, Wade looks at an inmate, Viper, the wrong way and is attacked. There's a riot occurring in San Quentin prison that was started by a notorious inmate named John Smith. The prison wants to put Smith in the hole for life, but a retired captain named Gordon gets him transferred instead. Wade's murder charge is reduced to manslaughter and he is sentenced to 3 years in prison. While on the bus to state prison, Danny Sampson, the leader of the gang, the Aryan Brotherhood, viciously attacks another inmate. He passes his weapon to Snowman, who is a member of the Skinheads, and wipes his bloody hands on his clothes. As the bus pulls into the prison, Snowman passes the weapon to Wade and tells him to say that he found it under the seat or else he will be whacked. When Wade is caught with the weapon, he says he found it under his seat. Wade is later interrogated by Lieutenant Jackson and his officers, who tell him that the inmate who was stabbed on the bus is in critical condition, and if he dies, he will be charged with accessory to murder, but if he tells who did the stabbing, he will be in the clear. Wade, fearing that he will suffer the same fate as the inmate who was stabbed on the bus, decides not to tell. Wade is then sent to the SHU, the security housing unit, where the worst of the worst inmates are held. They are locked in their cells 23 hours a day and only allowed 1 hour of recreation, which takes place in a small concrete yard. The scene cuts to a meeting with Lieutenant Jackson, the warden, and Officer Collins. Collins, a former Army Ranger, is being assigned to the SHU. On Wade's first day in the yard, 2 inmates begin fighting. But instead of the fight being broken up, Lieutenant Jackson and his officers let it continue and make wagers on who will win. When the fight is over, Lieutenant Jackson has his officer shoot the inmates with rubber bullets. Officer Collins, who is new to the unit, is disturbed by what he is seeing. Wade's fiancée Laura comes to visit and has to endure a humiliating strip search. She is out of money and can't find a good-paying job. Wade tells her to use the checks from the small business loan to get by until he figures something out. Wade gets a cellmate, John Smith, the inmate who started the riot at San Quentin. Smith is in prison for killing 16 people. His wife and daughter were murdered, which sent him on a rampage. He killed the entire families of the 2 men who killed his wife and daughter, so they would know the pain he felt by losing his family. Then he killed the 2 men. He wanted the death penalty, but was given life without parole. Lieutenant Jackson, who is not impressed by his reputation, takes the only picture he has of his wife and daughter to show him who's boss. The next day in the yard, Wade is greeted by Snowman, the skinhead who passed him the weapon on the bus. They praise him for not squealing and tell him to continue to do as he's told, and they will protect him. Snowman orders Wade to fight with another inmate. Wade receives a visit from Laura and his son Michael. Laura notices that Wade has shaved his head and is acting strange. She asks him if he has become a Nazi or a skinhead. Wade tells her that she wouldn't understand, but refuses to explain. She has again run out of money. Wade tells her to sell his truck, tools, and their house. Every day afterwards in the yard, Snowman orders Wade to fight. Until the day when Wade has had enough and refuses. Snowman and the other skinheads jump Wade. Smith comes to Wade's aid. The next day, the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood, Danny Sampson, the one who stabbed the inmate on the bus, is in the yard. He motions to Wade to come over. Snowman starts to berate Wade. Sampson tells Snowman to shut up. Sampson tells Snowman that he saw him pass the weapon to Wade on the bus. Then Snowman is slashed across the face and beaten by the Aryan Brotherhood. Afterwards, Sampson tells Wade that the other white inmates will not touch him, and if he ever wants to join the Aryan Brotherhood, to let him know. Laura visits Wade and tells him that she sold his truck, his tools, and the house, but wasn't able to get the price for the house that they wanted. This causes an argument, and Laura walks out. Snowman meets with Lieutenant Jackson and agrees to testify against Sampson as an eyewitness to the stabbing on the bus. In return, Jackson agrees to place Snowman in protective custody for the rest of his prison term. The next day in the yard, Wade is attacked, but refuses to fight, which upsets Lieutenant Jackson and provokes him to shoot Wade several times with rubber bullets. Later, in the infirmary, Lieutenant Jackson tells Wade that the inmate that Sampson stabbed on the bus died, and Snowman has agreed to testify as an eyewitness against Sampson, and that Sampson will go down for first-degree murder, and Wade will be charged as an accessory to murder for having the weapon. Sampson is convicted and is sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Wade is convicted of accessory and sentenced to an additional 6 years due to Lieutenant Jackson's testimony. Laura's mother convinces her to leave Wade. With his hopes of being released after serving his original sentence shattered, and Laura leaving him, Wade becomes a complete savage and viciously beats an inmate and joins the Aryan Brotherhood. If things weren't bad enough, Viper, the inmate that attacked Wade in the county jail, is transferred to the SHU. Laura has a change of heart and makes up with Wade. Hopeful again, Wade asks Smith to help him come up with a way to get out of prison. Smith explains that he can get his sentence commuted if he's got something to barter with. He needs to expose Lieutenant Jackson, so they come up with a plan. Wade has Laura reach out to Smith's friend, retired Captain Gordon. Wade then asks Lieutenant Jackson to let him fight Viper in the yard. Jackson agrees to let Wade fight Viper, but tells Wade that it will be a fight to the death. The next day in the yard, Wade and Viper began to fight. It's a back and forth battle until Wade gets the upper hand. But refuses to kill Viper. This angers Lieutenant Jackson, who fires a warning shot at Wade. Lieutenant Jackson orders Wade to kill Viper and levels the rifle at Wade. But before he pulls the trigger, Smith steps in front of Wade. And then all the other inmates who are fed up with Lieutenant Jackson step in front of Wade. But Jackson is not willing to let it go. He orders all the inmates to leave the yard except Wade and Smith, then orders Officer Diaz to turn off the surveillance cameras. Lieutenant Jackson's plan is to kill Wade, frame Smith for Wade's murder, and then have Officer Diaz shoot and kill Smith from the tower. Officer Collins, who has finally had enough of Lieutenant Jackson's abuse of power, turns the surveillance cameras back on. As Lieutenant Jackson raises his weapon to stab Wade, Smith slashes Jackson, and Officer Diaz shoots Smith. Officer Collins rings the alarm just as Laura, Gordon, and the FBI special agent arrive at the prison. The agent confiscates the video of the yard and launches a federal investigation. For his cooperation, Wade's additional 6-year sentence is commuted, leaving him to serve just the 3 months remaining on his original sentence. Snowman, who was promised by Lieutenant Jackson that he would serve the rest of his term in protective custody, is informed that Jackson's dead and he is transferred back to the SHU and placed in the cell with Danny Sampson. 3 months later, Wade is released from prison.
Now, I think this is a great movie. I'm very impressed by this movie. I really like this movie. I almost love this movie. Yeah, I love this movie. And so if you hung out with me to the end, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so I can kick it with you next time. And until next time, as always, peace and stay safe.